Good morning, lower school.
Good morning, Mr. Miss.
Our friends from middle school are hopefully sleeping in today, both teachers and students, because they had a very busy week. They were all over the place, different destination every day. So I think it was a great success. I got one quote: "The trips were wonderful, but exhausting." So they're taking today to catch their breath, because we know we have a busy month of May ahead. It's our last day of April in school. How about that? Went pretty quick. Let us begin with some birthdays. These will be birthdays for this week and next week, because looking ahead next week, next Friday is a special day, so we're going to cover two at once. So starting on Saturday, the 30th, which is tomorrow, Mrs. Hoover. And then on Wednesday, the 4th, Mr. McManus. And then, keeping it in the family, on Thursday, the 5th, kindergartner Ben Hoover. Then looking ahead to the following week, Monday, the 8th of May, 8th grader, Aya Reggae. Final month of birthday. Also on Monday, 4th grader, Charlotte Glenn. On Tuesday, we have 3 birthdays: 3rd grader, Ava Raphael. 7th grader, Isabella Ruggieri. And 3rd grader, Malia Wolford. And looking ahead to Wednesday, the 10th, Miss Machendera or Mrs. Filippo. One of the two, maybe both. And finally, rounding out Thursday, the 12th, 6th grader, Grayson Carberry. Happy birthday. And let's sing. Big success. Thank you to everyone who came out. We hit all of our goals. It was great to have a huge crowd out there, and we danced to 80 songs, and we dressed funny, and it was terrific. So thank you. We'll go back to some other decade next time. Grand Friends Day. So I mentioned next Friday is a special event. We will have grandparents, special friends, anyone that families want to invite to spend a little bit of time with us next Friday. And an invitation went out. If you would still like to sign up, you can do that on our website. There'll be a quick tab that pops up, so please feel free to sign up. It is a new dismissal, so it's a half day. Our grandparents and special friends will come mid-morning. We will have a special chapel with them, some special events. Then they're going to visit your classrooms and see what's been going on. And then if they're able to take you to lunch or to do something else for the day, that's great. And we'll be otherwise dismissing by car line at noon. And also next week on Saturday, we're having a special event called the Spring Carnival and Super Science Saturday. You've heard me mention this before. This is an admissions event. We want to tell people about our school, and so we're really encouraging families to bring folks to this. There will be food and games, and our science department is doing special experiments, face painting, all sorts of fun stuff. And the only price of admission for you is to bring someone else who might not know yet about Montgomery, who might be interested in coming. We'll be inviting our new families who are brand new to the community, who've already told us they're coming next year, and there's a whole bunch of those folks, so it'll be a great time to mix and mingle with them as well. Okay. Today, we have a very special chapel speaker, and that is our friend, Everyone's looking to see where she is. Mrs. Wendy Furry. Now, you may know her as Teacher Wendy or as Miss Wendy. You may know her from camps. What a special friend we have in Miss Wendy. Wendy runs some of our day camps. Come on up. Let me present you. She is the head of outdoor learning for GeoVentures. So GeoVentures is a partner to Montgomery to do outdoor learning. And you may not even realize all the different ways in which Miss Wendy has been helping us. So she's been working with a group of teachers all year long to create special lessons around outdoor learning. And they've been, every teacher has met with her individually, and then a special group who said, we really want to do some more with this, has done an in-depth, deep dive, and created a whole unit talking about how they can use our outdoor spaces, what they can do when they encounter nature. And so some of you have experienced some of the benefits of that. Ms. Wendy's also been working with our middle school and doing advisory lessons, helping them connect their work around their growth and understanding and team building, and connecting that also to the outdoors because we have this incredible campus. And as you may know from firsthand, she runs these really cool camps that have taken place throughout the year, and we'll be running some more camps coming up at the end of the summer for us, the GeoVentures camp. I have a long friendship with Miss Wendy. We work together at another school, and whenever I'm dreaming big, I think, I wonder what Wendy would think about this, because she's a big dreamer, and she also connects things in really great ways to the world around us. So I'm very proud to introduce Miss Wendy.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Miss Wendy.
Thank you so much. It is such a pleasure and a privilege to be with you here with you this morning. When I was invited to do this, I had to think really long and hard about what story I'd like to share with you guys today. And so when I was thinking, I landed on one story that really changed me as a teacher, and really, I think, changed my mind and my heart also when I learned this. So I began my career as a science teacher out west in California, and I loved to travel everywhere throughout the West. There's so many mountains there, and rivers and oceans and beautiful places that really like are stunning. Like you have to stop and really be like, what? And one of those places that really captured my heart was a place called Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone is known for being like the most interesting geological place in America. I don't know if anybody, could you raise your hand? Have you been to Yellowstone? Some of you have been to Yellowstone. That's amazing. So you know that. And those of you who haven't yet, I hope you go someday, because there are pools of lava and magma. There are places where water is forced up in giant geysers, like a big squirt that goes up in the air. It is unbelievably beautiful. But I'm not going to talk about the geology so much today because, my background is in biology, and I am crazy about nature and animals. And so what really caught my attention when I went to Yellowstone was getting to talk to some of the scientists and the rangers there about what's been changing in the ecology with the animals themselves. Because Yellowstone is, okay, first off, it's huge. It's actually not just in one state, it's in 3 states, and it's actually bigger than some whole states. This one special place that's been set aside to conserve. And basically, we try not to touch it. We don't try to build there, or try not to make anything that's going to disturb. We're going to let nature be the way it is. But even though we've been doing that for about 100 years in this place, everything hasn't always been perfect. They've seen some troubles. So for instance, down in the low river valleys, even though we were spending a lot of time really trying to take care of this place, we were still seeing some species begin to decline. First, you can see on one side that the rivers were starting to get really muddy, and I don't know know if you know what this is called, when dirt and things like that just fall right into the river and start to chip away. Do you know what that's called? Erosion, absolutely. There's a lot of erosion happening down in the stream beds. That makes the rivers shallow and really muddy and not a great place for the fish. So the fish were starting to decline, and then the species that eat the fish were starting to decline, like the eagles. And that, that takes down everybody. The amphibians, which are really sensitive, weren't doing so great there. And all of it was falling off, which means there wasn't places for the birds to perch or little animals to hide and build their homes. And so people were saying, oh, there are all these interesting ecological problems here, even though we're trying to preserve this space. But there was one problem that really seemed to stick out, and it had to do with the deer and the elk. And the deer and the elk used to have a predator, the gray wolf. But the gray wolf, humans and wolves, we don't always get along. We're competitors. We like to eat the same things. And we both defend our territories pretty fiercely. So we got rid of all the wolves in the area. And that meant that nothing was eating the deer and the elk. And the populations grew and grew and grew and grew. And they started to take over and just marching around the place like they own it, and they munched everything to the ground, just all the grasses, all the little saplings, everything, nom, 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 nom. So they ate it all to the ground. So people were thinking, maybe there's a way to control this deer. We don't want to hunt here because this is protected land, so what if we brought in a few of their predators back? And they said, what if we just brought in a few wolves, 98, not even 100 wolves? And remember, this land is huge, so it's really just like a tiny little sprinkling of these gray wolves back into this area. And they were like, let's do an experiment and see if it brings those deer and elk population under control, and then at least we've got one problem solved, right? They're really beautiful, though, too. I just love the way that they look. I know they're powerful and dangerous, and they need a lot of respect from us. We need to treat them with lots and lots of respect as a powerful creature, but they're also, I think they're very beautiful. So they said 98 wolves. Let's see if this fixes the problem. They were not expecting what happened next. So they were right. The wolves did eat some of the deer and bring those populations down to more balanced levels. But more importantly, something they weren't expecting is it changed the elk and the deer's behavior. They used to just march all over the place, but now there were some places, like down in the really valleys and the gorges, where they knew there could be a wolf lurking around, so they didn't go down there so much. And they left those places alone. They didn't munch everything to the ground right by the river, which meant the baby trees, which had been eaten down to a nub, were finally able to poke up and grow. Willows and aspen started to pop up all over the riverbed, just like it used to be 100 years ago. And they grew and grew and grew, and before you knew it, these areas were forested, or at least had a thick thicket around, which brought back some other really important species, like this one. You know what this guy is? He's a beaver. This is such an interesting animal. It's a really interesting animal right here where we live, too. Because beavers don't just live and work and do their own thing. They actually are land sculptors, right? So now they were their favorite trees to eat again. The willow and the aspen are some of their very favorite trees. And they suddenly had something to eat and something to build with. And so they came back. And they're called busy beavers for a reason. They got busy right away fixing these rivers. What they do is they dig deep and make pools, which are perfect habitats for the animals around them, not just themselves and their own babies, but everybody loves it when the beaver builds one of these deep little pools with one of their dams, because then there's tons and tons and tons of places to live and hide and places for the fish to spawn and make their own babies deep down in the river. So the beavers started getting work fixing these rivers. And what do you know? All the species began returning to the area. The fish came back, so the eagles that ate the fish started coming back. Suddenly there were places to hide along the river and places to nest, so the little rodents came back, which brought back things like the foxes that loved to hunt them. The songbirds came back because there was somewhere for them to perch. And as they came back, they would leave their little boops, right? This is what songbirds do, which were filled with seeds, which brought back the berries, which brought back species as big as the bears back to these places that they haven't been in a long, long, long time, right? All the little creepy creatures, everything that needs to hide, everything that needs to make a space to live, suddenly had a place to do it. And all of the species that they'd been seeing drop started climbing again. This is such an interesting experiment. Nobody was expecting this at all. We were just expecting maybe we could control the deer population, but they found that just a few wolves actually began to change the behavior of the animals and changed the landscape itself, and even the shape of the land itself began to change because the wolves came back. So I've been a science teacher a long time, long before I heard this story. And one of the things I have to teach, tell me if you know this, that there are relationships between animals, right? Who here's heard of predator and prey? Yeah, some animals, every animal has a predator, every animal has prey. That's a relationship that exists between creatures. Who's heard about competition between animals, where sometimes they want the same thing and they have to beat each other to it? You've heard of that one too. Sometimes I've even heard amazing stories of different species cooperating with each other and living in something called symbiosis, cooperative relationships. Less people have heard about it. It's amazing. You should look at some of these stories. They're the alliances between animals that help them both. So amazing. I'd been teaching about those for a long, long, long time. But what I didn't know was that there is another relationship. And it's a relationship like the one between the wolves and the willow trees. The willow trees are not they're not the wolf's prey. They're not its predator. They're not its competitor. They're not even a cooperative partner. It's something more, it's something deeper than that, and something harder to trace, right? Because clearly they are connected. Before the wolves came, no willow trees. The wolves were back, there are willow trees. What is this connection? And the word for it is interdependence. It means, and this is the part that changed my mind and my heart when I look at everything that I look at, both outdoors but also within people, that the strings that connect us aren't always easy to see. That the ways that what we choose to do ripples out to affect the world in ways that maybe we couldn't ever have predicted, but have enormous amounts of power. So that means that what you're doing, what you choose to do every day, it ripples out and it affects maybe people that you've never even met, people maybe even really far away from you. But not just the people, also the other living things. There's this deep circle of connection that keeps us bound together. And the wolves didn't do it by coming up with a mega plan or some really amazing tech or a really, really great strategy for bringing back the willows. They did it just by being wolves, right? By doing what wolves do. They just did what they did best. They just showed up and did what they did best, which is all that we can do. And that will ripple out and connect us and affect us beyond what you can expect. Wait a minute. Something's going wrong. This is not my presentation at all.
We interrupt this chapel for a very important announcement.
Let's thank Mrs. Furry again for her awesome chapel. Yay! So, you didn't think you were just going to gloss over your birthday next week and we wouldn't have a little fun with you, did you? No. So it's a rather big birthday for Mr. McManus next week. Do you know what I mean by a big birthday? It's not so big for some of us, but for many of you, it's a big birthday. What do you think I mean by a big birthday? What do you think? Simon, what do you think? What did you say? Mr. McManus is 50? Yes! Wow. Mr. McManus, come up here so you can catch some bubbles and enjoy the moment. Aw, isn't that fun? Everybody loves bubbles, right? So, Mr. McManus, enjoy these last few days of being in your 40s. I remember them. Some of you are with me and remember those 40s. So we are going to have a special dessert in the dining room in honor of Mr. McManus' birthday. Isn't that fabulous? Because if it's a big birthday. I know. So exciting. And we have a little surprise for you. Well, actually, your family has a little surprise for you to help you celebrate your birthday. Who's here? Who's here? You have no idea, do you? I know. It's Mrs. McManus and his little son, Wally. Wally, did you want to say something to your dad? Wally, look over here. Look at the bubbles. And your dad's over here. Did you want to say something? Oh, he's just smiling from ear to ear. He's so happy. You want to come up and see the bubbles? Come on up with us. Come on. So, shall we sing again a little happy birthday to Mr. McManus? And we can, say it all week, right? Okay. All right. Here we go. Aww. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, Mr. McManus. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. McManus. All right, so when you see Mr. McManus between now and when is his birthday? Next Wednesday, when he'll be how old? Yeah. Make sure you drive home that 50 when you see him and wish him a happy birthday, and let's watch Wally pop all the bubbles on the stage. Have a great Friday, everybody.